Housewives on Cape Cod, Living the Dream. A show that celebrates ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Hear what motivated them to attain their goals. See which circumstances molded their characters and turned them into everyday heroes. Learn more about this show and the hosts for Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod TV and radio on Facebook. Now here are your hosts, the Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod, Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas and Lori Boyle.
Welcome to Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod. Today I'm your Wicked Housewife Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas, Kat, and to my left down here is Lori Boyle, the other Wicked Housewife on Cape Cod. And our guest today is Teresa Valardi, and she's been with us before. And Teresa's going to be here today on this episode of Living in Abundance, where we're going to continue to explore going from the life of abuse and challenge stressful relationships into total abundance, out that tunnel and into the light. And as you can see here, we have all of Teresa's gorgeous pottery, which she has channeled all of her emotions into to create this abundance.
Teresa Valardi is an author, speaker, potter, and transformational life coach. She will take you on your personal transformation journey using pottery as an illustration for your own transformation from a ball of clay to a work of art. Along the way, you'll learn how to unleash your power while connecting with your creative gifts and talents to live your most authentic life.
So welcome to the show today, Teresa. We're so glad you're
back.
so
happy to be back with you girls. You rock. You're awesome. I love what you're doing with your show. I really
thank
do.
you.
I really
thank
do.
you.
Yeah. And I just want to say, you know, Teresa and Lori and I were talking about this before we started rolling the tape. The reason Teresa is doing this, putting her life out here for everybody to see, the good, the bad, the ugly, is because she wants to help other women who may be in relationships that are abusive and are sitting watching this right now going, but am I truly in an abusive relationship? What are the signs? What are the symbols? What are the flags? And so that's what we're going to be talking about, but we're not going to stay there. We're then going to move out of that and into a life of abundance. So it's out of the storm and into the sunlight.
I love that. And that's exactly what I did. I got out of the storm and I stepped into the sunlight. You know, you asked about how do you know if you're in an abusive relationship. And one of the things that I wasn't really paying attention to, but as I look back, I recognized that there were a lot of things going on that were flags, red flags, and things that were happening. If someone who you love, who claims that they love you, is belittling you, making fun of you, doing anything in any way to take away your personal power. That's not what people who love each other do to each other. They lift each other up and they support each other through anything and everything, you know. So, and that's, I was in a situation that I knew before I got married. I was affirmed when I was getting married that I was making a bad choice. My ex-husband used to tell my son, don't listen to your mother, she don't know what she's talking about. You want to talk about somebody taking away your power. Not only did he take away my personal power, he took away my parenting power as well. So, you know, when there's children involved in this situation, you know, you got to keep your ears and your eyes open. And a lot of times abusive situations are followed up with great apologies, maybe beautiful jewelry, and promises of never doing it again. And, you know, there are times when there is an isolated situation, and you know, I pray that anybody who's in a situation that happens, you know, that happens, that it is an isolated situation, brought on by something that was whatever. But the thing is when they repeat themselves, now I have to look to myself. Why am I staying in this? Why am I allowing this person to do what they're doing to me?
Before we get there, though, let's go way back to the beginning. Like when you first met him, what was he like? Was he like perfect in the beginning and then
charming,
changed? Was he
charismatic?
So that's
just
how
you know, really
it was in the beginning,
oh,
which
yeah.
is great.
Yeah,
and it kind of sucks you in.
right?
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
That's
wow,
a
this
good way to
guy
put it,
is.
sucks you in,
It's like,
because
yeah.
disturbed people
Yeah.
are very charismatic.
Yes.
Well, it's seductive, you know.
Yeah.
It is to be around people like that who are always giving you compliments and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Did he want to rush you to the altar? Did he want to get serious right away? Was that something that happened?
Not really.
No?
No. I lived with him for a while, so I experienced a lot of the stuff that was that I really should have been paying attention to, that I was in denial of.
So when was the first time you actually felt, oh, wait a minute, things have changed?
Yeah.
You know, something is different as of like
I
right this
recall
moment.
it. I recall
Okay.
it right away. I was out with a group of girlfriends. We had gone to a play, and we went out for dinner afterwards, or coffee, not even dinner. And I remember coming back to the house, and we were living together at the time, and he read me the riot act, reamed me up one side and down the other, threw me out of my own bedroom. It was my apartment. It was originally my apartment. Threw me out of my own bedroom, and I had to sleep on the couch, and I was distraught. I was devastated. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I was with a bunch of girlfriends. I went to a play, and we went and had coffee. That was it. You know, I wasn't screwing around. I wasn't out with somebody else. I was just enjoying some time with my friends.
So that's the first one, where he wants to separate you from your friends, basically. He keeps control of you by separating you from your friends.
Right.
But that's an enormous warning sign right there, is that you feel bad. He's making you feel bad. Okay,
Absolutely.
right there is the very first one where you say, uh-oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Well,
Right.
that's
At all.
usually the first step in separating you from your family and your friends.
Yes.
That's the first step, and that's one of the first signs and symbols that you'll see, is this desire to separate you and make him your whole world.
Right.
So you can't go out and enjoy yourself with your friends. You can't go
Right.
out with your family. You must only be with him at all times, or
Yeah.
he is going to read you the riot act so that you never do that again.
Yes.
And that's an important step. That's one of the most important things you need to look for. And they'll say, well, it's because I love you so much and I want to spend all this time with you. But the truth of the matter is, the separation is starting, and it starts slowly.
Yes. I was separated from my family, separated from people. Used to come to my house, and then they wouldn't come back because they didn't. They weren't liking the way that he was treating me. I remember one time making a pot of sauce and meatballs while he and his friends were playing cards and offering the meatballs to the people. Hey, have a snack, whatever. Nobody wants your food. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm just
I
like,
want my food.
Right, exactly.
so
So it's things like that, continuing to undermine you.
they whittle away at you
Yes,
emotionally,
right.
and then when the physical piece comes into it, and it doesn't even have to become a physical thing. When somebody is taking away your power, or you're actually allowing that to happen. There is a piece, I take responsibility here. There's a piece of myself that I allowed all this to happen. I thought it was just a phase that he was going through, and that was for a long time, and I thought it was going to go away. I thought the promises that he made to me were going to someday come true.
And you wanted to believe those
And I
promises.
did. I
You
wanted to
wanna
believe
that
that.
person because you really do love them.
Yes, I wanted to believe that, and it just didn't happen that way. So I made a different choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you hit it really on the head, Kat, when you say you want to believe it. You want to believe that that the other way,
It's an
the
isolated
first part
incident.
is really
Yes.
how it's going to be, but it isn't.
That's right.
It's completely changed now. And I would say, if ever, like in the first year that you're with a guy, if he makes you feel bad, right then it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
if
that is a huge flag right there.
And
And
anyone hitting you,
Yeah.
as soon as you have to hit someone, you've lost the fight.
Yeah.
If you don't have the verbal skills to talk it out, that's a relationship you need to leave, because physical abuse, there's never an excuse for it. No excuse for physical abuse.
Absolutely.
None.
But this doesn't just happen to women, though. This happens to men as well. I mean, there are women who are very controlling, and they want to separate their boyfriend, their husband, from his friends. They
Oh,
don't
they
want him to
do.
go out with his friends anymore, and that's a very controlling behavior, and that really isn't healthy.
No.
Because if someone you're with doesn't appreciate your friends or what's important to you, that's another huge sign right there that they're not acting in your best interests.
That's right.
And if they're not, you don't want to be with them.
Right,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
in the end, you depended on these friends that he alienated you from to help you get out of this relationship
That's
and
right.
stay alive.
They were the ones that helped me to get out and stay alive. And, you know, my family, my mother knew. I talked to my mother about everything. I knew that I couldn't, when it came time to leave and start my quote-unquote plan in motion, so to speak, and at first I didn't have a plan. I just knew that I had to have a couple of things in place, that if I left, I needed to have a little bit of money in order to be able to get me someplace safe. I had to have some clothing for myself and my son. I had to have an extra set of keys to the car. I had packed them all in a bag, and I had the bag in a safe place that was easily grabbable so I could just get out. And, you know,
so you had to make a plan.
Well,
you knew
Yeah.
that you weren't getting out just saying, that's it, I'm gone. That wasn't going to work.
No.
You had to actually make a plan, find a place to go, pack your stuff in advance, be able to grab your child, your bags, get in the car and go somewhere.
go.
And you also had some money. You planned
Yep,
by
and money.
making sure that you had enough money to be able to exist. In order to make that escape plan work, you had to have certain things in place.
Yes.
Or you would fail, and that would be probably even worse than
Yes.
trying to leave.
Yeah, the thought of going back after that was,
Well, he would be even more abusive because he
Yeah.
would have won.
yeah.
He would have won.
Yeah.
Well, you know that if you've ever watched the movie Sleeping with the Enemy,
Oh yeah, I saw that.
yeah.
Yeah.
When she left, that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. Like I had to get out. He was, I was being suffocated. There was no me. There was no me. I had given up everything I was and everything I am to somebody who didn't deserve to have that.
And that
You
was a
know,
big step, realizing that.
huge.
To finally saying, you know, I'm okay, you're not. It's a really,
Right.
really big step, and it's probably one of the first ones. So you told me also when we were sitting down chatting about this that you decided not to run back to your family for help. Can you tell us why?
That's the first place he would have gone. That's the first
Oh,
place he would
okay.
have gone. You know, where is she? Where is she? It's the first place he would have gone. So to keep them safe, and I didn't tell them where I was until after I had gone there. And I knew that he had been to my mom's house already, my parents' house. I knew that he had gone there, and I knew that he wasn't going back there again because he knew that I wasn't there. You know, I told my mother where I was, and I
Because
just
she was probably really worried.
yeah, she was. She was worried. She knew that I was thinking about going. She didn't know exactly when. And, you know, I don't even remember what the thing was, the straw that broke the camel's back. I had just come to that point where I was done. I was done. I was lost. I think I talked about looking in the mirror and asking myself, who are you?
did,
And why
yes.
are you here? You know, that question is not only about why am I here as far as what do I have to give to the planet, it's why am I stuck in this relationship? And, you know, when are you going to, you know, move? And it's
So
there's-
if you were going to, some of our audience and some of our live audience as well may be familiar with this. Either they're living it or they've helped other women in it or something. If you had two big red flags that you would want them to look for or see if those flags are already flapping, what would they be?
isolation, your friend, keeping you away from your friends, and the detrimental conversation, like, you know, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you know, those two things are like big flags of you know, of abuse,
wrong.
if something is really wrong. And then, of course, you know, once somebody raises a hand to you, that itself right there is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are the things that I can tell you to watch for, you know.
And it's easy once that happens after you've been beaten up or hurt to be in denial because you don't want to believe that someone that you really love would do that to you. And so you keep making excuses for them, and thereby you make excuses for yourself for staying and
Yes.
saying things like, well, maybe I deserved this.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's a huge point right there. Maybe I deserve this, and this is so backwards. It's what I call the law of backwards. He's wearing the black hat and you're wearing the white hat. I mean, that's how it should be. He's the one who should feel badly by doing this to you, but that's not what happens. The abused person is the one who feels bad, guilty, ashamed, all this stuff.
Yes.
And that just is completely wrong.
I agree with you. And in the moment that it's going on, it's like, oh my God, yes, I'm ashamed that I'm in this situation. And what do I do? You feel powerless.
And you feel
what
powerless.
do I do?
It's all designed to make you feel that way, but if you're feeling that way in this situation, you got to stop. You got to go, wait a minute. This is the guy who's making me feel bad. This is the guy who's yelling and screaming at me.
Right.
And I am right. I am right. I am a good person. I need to get out of this.
And it didn't come from myself. That information did not come from myself. That information came from me when I went into 12-step rooms and I heard people coming out of similar situations. I had hope that I could do the same.
But it doesn't, it always happens that way to people. It's always that way, unless we can say, okay, that's a warning sign, this is a bad guy. Now, whatever he says, whatever he does, he's still the bad guy. We have to be able to take that step to stop in the middle of it and say, wait a minute, you're the bad guy, I'm the good guy, I'm out of here. And if women and men who are in that situation, children even, who are being bullied, they have to say that to themselves.
Right.
It's sort of, okay, that's how you're going to save yourself right there.
Exactly.
That's it.
You've
You
got
know,
to take
that's
that
your
step.
life
You've got to
preserver.
recognize it first, and then
Yes.
take the step. But recognizing it is one of the most important things.
It's
You've
very-
got
yes.
you've got to see it first before you can make a change. Because a lot of people will say, "Well, I need to make a change." They're mouthing what they hear, but they don't see it yet. And that's why one of the reasons why Teresa is here with us today. What she's doing is she's bringing it into the light, so that if you're listening and you've seen these red flags flapping in your yard or in your home, you can go, oh my gosh, if she did it, I can do it too.
Yes.
And these are some of the ways you can do it. So fast forwarding now, Teresa, you opened up a bank account for yourself that he didn't know about. You had money there that you could handle to get yourself out. You took your son, you hid in a friend's garage. You had the friend actually clean out the garage.
Clean
so
out
you
the
could hide
garage.
your car in there. And you did what you had to do, and these people that he had alienated you from were suddenly there to hold you up and say, we
Absolutely.
understand, because they
Absolutely.
know what's going on.
Absolutely.
They understand, and they were just waiting. So then you made a big change. Once you got out, you then got him out. How did you do that? What were the legal steps you took?
I got an order of protection and I told the judge that I wanted him out, and he ended up going into rehab. It was not successful. And I just kept doing everything that I could in order to be able to keep him out. He violated the order of protection, slammed my hand in the door, and I had the cops at my house, took him away. So he was gone for a weekend. Breather.
Yeah.
You know, so I did everything I could in order to be able to keep myself away from this type of behavior, because I knew that this was not what life was supposed to be. You know, my friends were living, they were having awesome relationships with other people, you know, their husbands, and they had friends all around them. And here I was, stuck in a box. And I was tired of being in the box.
Yeah.
I was tired, and I knew that I
You were
wanted
caged
more.
up.
And everything that you see here, all of the artist in me, I gave up for the sake of that relationship. I gave it up.
Well, they want you to give up everything except them. So then what you did was you turned your garage into your little pottery barn. So you took away the space that he parked his car, which in symbolism, your car is your life. So she just moved that life right out of the garage, and she moved her power in. So tell us about this gorgeous pottery, which is the, you know, this is the abundance.
Yeah, this is
now
the
in
abundance
her
part.
relationships.
And you know, ironically, it's just making pottery is a gift. From the first time that I touched clay, I recognized that I had been given a great gift, and I denied myself the use of that gift for a long time and the pleasure of it. So as soon as I knew he wasn't coming back, I did just that, Kat. I turned the garage into a pottery studio, and I started making pots. And then I had people in my house to a pottery show. Instead of the people that were all coming into my house that were there when my ex-husband was there, who didn't want to come back again, I invited them back for a different experience. And I had hot cider on the stove, fresh cookies baked. I had I had a fire in the fireplace in the den. I had turned everything else into a gallery. And they came in, they had something to eat and something to drink, and they shopped around for pottery, and they sat in the living room, made new relationships with people they didn't know. It was like all of a sudden my world opened up. You know, so and what I also learned about pottery is that the art of making pottery is also an incredible illustration for transformation.
That's right. You went from a lump of clay into something totally beautiful, molded, creativity.
I say from a ball of clay to a work of art. You know, so
yes.
that's it. And each and every one of us is a work of art. You know, we were molded and shaped and, you know, and created for something on this planet. So if I can, I would like to take you through these steps.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
cool,
Yeah.
awesome. So the first step is that you have to prepare the clay. So anytime you want to change something in your life, you have to be prepared to change it. So when I wanted to change my life, I had to do the preparations. I had to have the bank account. I had to have the stuff ready. I had to have a little bit of a plan, and then the rest of it unfolded as I went. I didn't fly by the seat of my pants there. I said when one thing happened, something else came to me that was next. So preparation is first. When you work with clay, it's called wedging, and it gets all the air bubbles out of the clay, and it gets it smooth and homogeneous so that you can go to the next step, which is to center it on the potter's wheel.
Be centered.
You have to be centered. You have to be focused on you, and you have to go within. And it's you know, that's what I had to do. I had to go within and ask myself, what did I want? So the second step is centering. Then the third step is opening. Now I had to be open to what it was. That's right. Open my heart, open my beliefs. You know, I had for a long time stayed away from the spiritual side of myself because I didn't know what I believed. And I started to open myself to possibilities, and I have an incredible belief, and I have incredible, incredible spiritual life, and I would not have had that if I didn't take the steps that I did for myself. So you have to be open to what's next. So then the fourth step is molding and shaping. So any one of these things could have been something else, but there was a decision made to mold and shape it in a certain way. So the question that I would ask anybody listening to this in relation to your life, how would you like to mold and shape your life? What would you like it to look like? Do you want to have it open like a bowl? Do you want it to be narrowed out and like a vase? What do you want your life to look like? What kind of experience do you want to have?
Tall, short, yeah. It's up to you.
Kind of
That's
sounds
it.
like
It's
the
up to
people in
you.
the world, right? Square, round, tall, short,
There
you know?
you go.
It's like everybody is different, and everybody has a life of their own. Somebody once said that to me. Your pottery, each piece has a life of its own. And that's because I, as the potter, breathe life into the clay. Just like, you know, if you are a student of the Bible or anything, it says that God breathed life into Adam. So why shouldn't I have the capability of breathing life into this clay? And that's
The co-creator on the
co-creator,
outside.
exactly, exactly. So now that it's shaped and molded, now you have to let it dry for a little bit. And the fifth step is to trim. Trim away that which you no longer want. Okay, so what is it that about you that needs to be in your mind changed? What can be trimmed away? How can we tweak it? Exactly, how can we tweak it? So when these pots, like this bowl was turned upside down and the bottom was turned into, like the excess clay was taken away in here, and the bottom has a foot on it so that when it sits on the table, it sits on a foot. So you trim it away so that you have like a more refined shape. So how do you want to refine your life? Like, what are some of the things that maybe some of the habits that you have that you'd like to change? And you know, transformation is an inside job. You do it from the inside out. You know, so what is it that you want to change, and take the steps in order to change them. So that's trimming. Then comes be still. You gotta wait.
Be still, my soul, while I grow into my new pot.
Exactly.
So you have to actually put this in the kiln.
Yeah, but
right?
not yet. You got to
Not
wait
yet?
for it to dry. So you got to
you
be
wait
still.
for it to dry. Oh, okay.
You got to be still. So now there's a lot of stuff that has happened before you be still. So here's the time where you get a chance to absorb all the changes that were made. I had to sit back and say, okay, where am I now? Like, what's the next step? What's the next step? Now, mind you, while I was doing all what I was doing, there was other stuff going on in the outside that was causing all kinds of stuff going on, all kinds of shaking happening on the outside. So.
Yeah.
And that happens while everything is drying and being in place. And so in our last minute for this show, tell us how the final part of this
So the clay, after
became your final part of your transition.
Right, so you go into the kiln, and all the stuff that is impure comes out in the kiln, so that it gets strong and hard. Then you glaze it, and you choose any color you want, and it becomes a permanent part. The glaze becomes a permanent part of the pottery, so you can create your own life.
So it's
what
like
does
you're
it look
changing
like?
your aura to be
Right.
what you want it to be.
Exactly.
You become.
Exactly. The final stage of the pottery is, of course, going into the kiln again, so that all of the color that you choose can come to life through the magic of the fire. So, you know, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're in a fire, where you're in a heated space, where there's something going on that you don't really like, it feels bad, you're going to come out of it and you're going to be perfect. You're going to come out of it, you're going to be okay, and you're going to be able to make the changes in your life that you want. You, every single person who's listening to this, you are a ball of clay that has been transformed into a work of art.
And you're going to grow through the baptism of fire.
That's right.
Exactly.
Fire is going to make you
Exactly.
stronger,
Yes.
and fire is going to purify you.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid of the fire.
Don't be afraid of the fire.
Embrace
It's coming
it.
anyway.
It's coming
Embrace it.
anyway, right? Embrace it, use it, and yeah.
Well, it has been so nice to have you. We're so glad you're back.
Me
We're going to go out to
too.
dinner tonight.
Yeah, we are. We're partying. The girlfriends are going to party.
sister.
So
thank you
so
for having
much.
me,
Thank
and
you
I
so
hope
much. Sorry.
anything that is said has had an effect on at least one person. The biggest thing: tell somebody.
Yes,
Make
tell
a change.
someone.
Tell somebody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for watching The Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod.
Thank you for joining Lori Boyle and Kathleen Cat O'Keefe Cannabis on Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod. Don't forget to like us on Facebook for our show updates, and join us next time when we showcase more everyday heroes.